Hello, this is Kevin from MemSQL. Welcome to today's webcast. Today we'll be providing a brief introduction to MemSQL as well as running through a demo so you can see MemSQL in action. This webcast will be led by Gary Ornstein, who is Chief Marketing Officer at MemSQL, and we also have Connor Doherty from MemSQL who will be running the MemSQL demo. If you have any questions during the webcast, please enter them through the WebEx question panel or send us a tweet at MemSQL. The presentation and demo will be about 25 minutes, and then we will field questions at the end for 10 minutes. And with that, I'll hand it over to Gary.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the webcast today. We're here to talk about MemSQL. And at MemSQL, we make a real-time database for transactions and analytics. And with that, we'll jump right into it. Quick snapshot and background on us. We've got a great experienced leadership team with folks from Microsoft, Facebook, Oracle, Fusion.io. The inspiration for MemSQL came by seeing this enterprise architecture gap from where many of the modern web companies were and their data capabilities compared to the rest of the enterprise and commercial world. We have great customer adoption that we'll talk about later in the presentation and top-tier investors from some of the leading folks in Silicon Valley. When we think about the trouble in the database market, we found one of the greatest summaries of this coming from Gartner, who talks about 4 key areas where traditional database management systems are essentially holding customers back. One is the age-old process of ETL, or extract, transform, and load, which most people agree tends to be quite lengthy and quite troublesome. Another key challenge is analytic latency, in that the data that is completed when you do analytics is often on data that's stale, that has had to be moved out of a transactional database and into an analytics database. Synchronization becomes an issue, dealing with different data sets for analytics and operations, and of course the copies of data that proliferate when you have these different types of systems becomes a challenge to manage over time. So at MemSQL, we're solving these challenges with a real-time database for transactions and analytics. Gives our customers the ability to both ingest and serve data simultaneously, and most importantly, to be able to generate reports over a changing data set so that as events come in, the queries are being run off the entirety of the data set up to that very last click or event that was recorded, which helps with things like anomaly detection. Because we're an in-memory distributed database, we can deliver sub-second responses to large user base. And we also focus a lot on ecosystem integration with tools and projects like Spark and Hadoop, dashboards like Tableau, and other data-related products like Splunk and MySQL. We'll talk a little bit more about the integrations further on in the presentation. From a big picture perspective, you can see what the architecture of a typical MemSQL deployment looks like on the left. Again, a real-time database for transactional analytics with the fastest performance, the greatest scale, SQL compliance, and being able to deploy this on-premises or in the cloud. The architecture is made up by deploying MemSQL across a number of nodes where that cluster can scale out to grow in capacity and performance as needed. The diagram on the right showcases how with a single data store, we're able to handle transactions on the highest value hot data, but also analytics that stretch across that most recent hot data all the way to colder data that's still of high value. And it's this ability to run the analytics up to the last second, as well as the historical data, that gives MemSQL unique capabilities. From a technical highlights perspective, there is quite a bit under the hood to give MemSQL these capabilities. At the core of the database is a lock-free structure that allows for this highly concurrent workloads and the ability to do concurrency control and with lock-free indexes. The ability to handle both the transactional OLTP and the analytical OLAP workloads simultaneously. Redundancy types to be able to persist data across nodes, including on disk drives and including across data centers while being ACID compliant. and all while using the familiar SQL interface, but also the ability to query data in less structured format using data types like JSON. In addition to integrating with customers' tools and processes, we offer our own management and operations dashboard. We call it MemSQL Ops for short. We'll have a chance to look at that in the detail of the demo, giving our customers and MemSQL users a high degree of visibility to the operations of the database under the hood. We spoke a little bit about integrations and ecosystem, and in today's world, it's clear that there is no one solution to solve all of the data management challenges we face. That said, we do think that there's an ability to consolidate solutions with the appropriate integrations and touch points in the ecosystem. Of course, at the top level, being SQL compliant allows us to connect to a wide array of business intelligence dashboards, but also enterprise data warehouses through industry standard connectors. In terms of other projects, at the Strata event in New York last fall, we detailed some of the work that we have coming up around Spark, one of the hot data processing frameworks these days that many believe will succeed Hadoop MapReduce from a computation perspective. We also in December open sourced a tool called the MemSQL Loader, which allows for direct ingest from things like the Hadoop distributed file system, as well as synchronizing with storage buckets like those from Amazon Web Services S3. And we've also made the MemSQL database client and wire protocol compatible with MySQL. So for the wide base of deployments of MySQL out there, in cases where there isn't enough performance or scale, moving to MemSQL becomes a fairly painless process. The applications in today's world of interconnectedness and interaction are far and wide. Some of the key areas include position tracking, operational analytics, anomaly detection, segmentation, personalization, real-time business intelligence. These are all areas where we find that the intersection of transactions and analytics can help drive a lot of value for our customers, and in particular, the ability to run the analytics up to the last click. That ability to do so in real time gives our customers visibility that they simply couldn't get with traditional tools. In terms of MemSQL deployments, we like to say that you can scale horizontally but deploy anywhere. That might be in your data center in a bare metal configuration. It might be across virtual machines or containers that could be in your data center or in the cloud. And of course, you could go for full-on cloud deployment with instances on Amazon or other popular cloud providers, Azure, Google Compute as well. But we think that this flexibility gives a tremendous advantage to our customers to manage their data the way they want to, and a deployment that suits their needs. On the MemSQL website, we're pleased to feature case studies from some leading companies around the world. Of course, Zynga is well known for their popular casual games, and they run a real-time data warehouse to monitor activity across their user base. Comcast is doing some very interesting work in real-time intelligence, monitoring video streams across their network to ensure a high-quality video experience. Shutterstock, the world's second largest stock photo and imagery site, is running real-time operations across their entire infrastructure. These are just a few examples of the visibility that customers are getting to their operations. And in these data-centric businesses, of course, rely on this as their lifeblood. And at MemSQL, we're happy to provide them this kind of visibility to their infrastructure. We've been working hard at MemSQL since 2012, when the first version of our database was introduced. initially focused on in-memory and extreme throughput, optimizing SQL queries to guarantee peak performance. Version 2 of our product expanded on that vision and included scale-out capabilities, so we got to a true distributed database, allowing our customers to grow while staying online. And we also added the capability to integrate unstructured data through JSON. And so it's interesting that now we're able to combine both the structured and the unstructured in a single database, giving tremendous flexibility to customers who have to deal with both data types. In version 3 of our product, we added a column store that includes disk support. And so where the row store is typically focused on the transactional items, the column store provides tremendous benefit in terms of its capacity capabilities, in terms of the compression, and in terms of giving our customers an easy and economical way to maintain all this data in a single data store and run real-time analytics. We've also added enterprise tools like cross-data center replication for availability, but also to do things like give a data analytics team the ability to run analytics on essentially a live copy of the production data. Many of our customers like this in that they can give these teams up-to-the-minute view of the data without having them need to access the core production database. And we've also worked to extend MemSQL into the broader big data ecosystem through things like the MemSQL loader, which we released in December, focusing on integrations with HDFS and Amazon S3, as well as work on new connectors related to Spark, which we discussed at Strata last fall. All of this, of course, is our path to get customers to real-time all the time. And in today's world, we find that while there are elements of real-time operation, that customers are frequently not able to do everything they need in real time, and MemSQL is chartered to help them get there. We get a lot of questions about the industry landscape. The number of companies and products and projects can at times be overwhelming to those who are looking for different solutions. But we felt it was helpful to chart out from a big picture the categories that we see in this market space. Starting on the left, of course, there's a number of non-relational tools that have emerged in recent years. And while those provide simple reads and writes and some amount of scalability, because of the non-relational nature, those tools provide no or very limited analytics and are often a challenge to integrate with the rest of conventional systems that are more relational in nature and SQL focused. The next two categories represent traditional categories of SQL transactional and SQL analytical products. And again, each of those will provide benefits for either transactional capability or analytics capability, but not both. It's only in the final column that we're able to combine the transactions and the analytics together for a combined solution to get our customers to real-time analytics and horizontal scalability. The other vertical axis that talks about some of the technologies in this space is important to pay attention to. At MemSQL, we've always had a focus on in-memory, and in particular, in-memory being DRAM perspective, because DRAM remains an order of magnitude or two faster than other media types that are out there, including flash. However, the ability to integrate flash technology and disk technology into a single solution remains a core advantage of MemSQL and our product. The analysts have had nice things to say about MemSQL over the years. Gartner has pointed out that MemSQL can be seen as a less expensive and more agile solution than other conventional solutions. 451 has noted the ability to combine operational transactions and analytical transactions. Enterprise Management Associates noted our ability to combine both the structured and the semi-structured data inside a single data set. And the Enterprise Strategy Group, who did a performance benchmarking report, confirmed that MemSQL is best in class across deployments, whether you're running on commodity hardware in your data center or in the cloud. We're really pleased that these folks, as well as our customers, are recognizing the opportunities with MemSQL. That concludes the point of our structured presentation here, and now we're going to move over to the demo. I'm going to ask Connor to guide us through this. What you see here is the console for the demonstration that we have set up. This is a MemSQL cluster running on Amazon EC2. And where are we going to begin, Connor?
So we're going to begin by loading a lot of data into MemSQL really quickly, then showing you how MemSQL is able to simultaneously execute analytical queries while it's ingesting data. And then I'm just going to give you a quick look at how you can build real-time dashboards on MemSQL.
Great. So we'll start out.
We're going to be inserting data into a couple of tables. One of these tables is called line item. It represents line items in an order. The data set here is sort of like a shipping network. So I just show you the table schema to show you that this is not a small table. It's not a simple key value type insert. If you look in the key column there, you see that there are actually several indexes on this table, many columns, relatively large data types. So you can see right now that the line item table is currently empty, so I'm going to go and turn on a write workload. We'll go over to MemSQL Ops, which is the dashboard for monitoring cluster performance. And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see the rows written per second jump up. So we're going to be pushing between 400 and 500,000 rows per second into that line item table and into one other table called orders.
So this is a great example of the power of MemSQL for ingesting data. In fact, sometimes when we talk to customers, we find they've been losing data because they simply can't bring it into their conventional solution fast enough. And so being able to capture this amount of rows written per second is a huge advantage for MemSQL and for our customers.
Yeah, and just one other feature of Ops, there are a number of views. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the cluster view lets you look at all of the nodes in your MemSQL cluster and the performance on each of them. So let's go back to the demo then. So let's run this count query again.
So just in the last couple of minutes, we run this count, and we'll see that we've got is it 21 million?
Yeah, 21 million.
21 million records there.
And so the important thing to note is that MemSQL is actually running this query every time. You notice that every time I run this count query, the number is going up. That's because MemSQL isn't caching this result. It's actually going to the database and computing this number every time.
So we've just seen 21, 25, 26 million. So that's going live. Now we're going to do something else simultaneously while all those writes are being put in, correct?
Right. So that count query is a really simple query. Let's run a complex query, like the kind that a business analyst might run to understand their operations. So I'm not going to go through the whole query. The important part is up at the top here. We're going to be computing national market share. Essentially what we're doing is saying, take all the volume of business that happened in some year, or in Brazil in some year, and divide it by the total volume of business that happened in this year.
So for a large global retailer, this would be an inordinately complex query for them to run, could take a tremendous amount of time, and we're going to now do that in just a few seconds.
Yeah, we're doing it in actually less than a second, and if you look back at MemSQL Ops, you can see that we're still inserting hundreds of thousands of records per second. while we're simultaneously running this complex analytical query. So rather than having to dump all of your operational data, load it into some data warehouse, and then execute this kind of query, with MemSQL, you can run the query directly on the live data.
Great.
So
thanks, Connor.
I'm just going to show you one other quick thing. The other important thing to note is that this is the only thing we're doing to get these numbers is writing this SQL query. So MemSQL speaks SQL, which means that it integrates very easily with business intelligence tools. So it'll work with whatever your preferred business intelligence tool is, whether that's Tableau, QlikView, MicroStrategy. Right here, I made a quick dashboard in Chart.io, which is a lightweight BI tool that we use here at MemSQL. So all I did here was put in this last query that I just showed you in the demo window, except I actually made it a little bit bigger. Instead of just looking at 2 years, we're looking at all of the years in the data, and I added 2 additional countries, Argentina and Canada. And if you look over on the right, we're computing the market share by nation for each of these countries over almost a decade. And so all that I had to do to build this application was just use the same SQL query that I was using before. But when I plug it into this dashboard, we immediately have this nice real-time visualization, because if you remember, we didn't have to do any data transfer or transformation to load this data into a data warehouse. We just pointed this BI tool directly at the MemSQL database, and we already have this dashboard that gives us up to the second information.
Great, thanks, Connor. I think this part about the ease of integration using SQL and the ecosystem of SQL-related tools is one of the most helpful parts for our customers, and that we can snap into a lot of their existing configuration without tremendous amounts of rework. So that wraps up the demo portion of the webcast today. Hopefully that was helpful. We're obviously able to run demos easily, so if you have specific demo requests, you can send those to us and we'd be happy to follow up. At this first point, we'll check in with Kevin to see if we've got any questions on the line. Kevin?
Yeah, sure. So we'll open everything up to Q&A now. If you have any questions, please enter them through the WebEx Q&A panel. We have one question that came through during the course of the webcast, which is how do you achieve durability given that MemSQL is an in-memory database?
Great. So that's a fantastic question, and we achieve durability in a number of different ways. Of course, the first step is to make sure that we have the data across multiple nodes, and then the second part is to make sure that we have that data persisted to disks through the logging function of MemSQL. Going further than that, we can then also take the primary MemSQL database and do replication to a second database. So not only are you getting the durability and failover capability should something happen to a node in the original cluster, but should that whole original cluster become unavailable for some reason, you have the ability to use the replicated database as needed.
Great. And just one more question. So how does high availability work in MemSQL?
You want to take that one, Connor?
Sure. So MemSQL comes with high availability is just a switch that you can turn on in MemSQL. So in that case, MemSQL will pair 2 storage nodes together so that they will hold copies of the same data. In the event that one of those nodes dies, MemSQL will automatically begin routing queries to the node that it was paired with. So the nodes each have roughly half master and half slave partitions. So the benefit of this is there are no passive backups in a MemSQL cluster. Even when you have high availability turned on, so you're storing redundant copies of data, the cluster is still distributing the right workload across both nodes.
So no unutilized resources.
Exactly.
Great.
Great. So that sums it up. If you have any further questions or just want to get in touch with someone at MemSQL, please send us an email at info@memsql.com, or you can tweet at us at MemSQL. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.